Paddington Bear and the Christmas Surprise by Michael Bond, pictures by R.W. Alley. One Christmas, Paddington announced he was taking the Brown family to Barkridge store to see Santa Claus. It's very good value, he explained. Apart from meeting Mr. Claus, there's a sleigh ride through the winter wonderland, and you get to visit his workshop at the North Pole. We might even see where he makes his marmalade. I doubt it. Santa makes his own marmalade, said Mr. Brown nervously as Paddington led the way onto the escalator. It would make all the presents sticky, agreed Jonathan. Not to mention his beard, added Judy. Besides, he's much too busy. That's more than you can say for Barkridge, remarked Mr. Brown gloomingly as he brought up the rear. There's hardly anyone here. There were two signs at the top of the escalator. One pointed to Santa Claus and one pointed to Winter Wonderland. I think I may visit Santa Claus first, announced Paddington, in case the sleigh gets stuck in the snow. You're supposed to do it the other way around, dear, called Miss Brown. You don't want to miss the ride. But Paddington was already in line. There were only two children in front of him, and they were both rather large, so he got down on his paws and knees so that he could get a better look. Santa Claus had two sacks of presents. One was marked boys, and the other was marked girls, but he couldn't see a sack marked bears anywhere. Just then he looked up and saw a man staring down at him. Are you a boy or are you a girl? Asked the store manager. I'm neither, said Paddington. I'm a bear. You look more like a large, creepy crawler to me, said the man distastefully. Perhaps you had better come back next year when you've made up your mind. Come back next year? Repeated Paddington hotly. But I've brought my Christmas list. I thought it would save the postage. The Browns were too far away to hear what was being said, but from the look on Paddington's face, they guessed something must be wrong. Hurry up, called Miss Bird. We're all ready to go. Oh dear, Henry, said Miss Brown. I do hope the sleigh ride is a success. Paddington's been saving his bun money for ages, and he'll be most upset if it doesn't live up to his expectations. As Paddington clambered aboard and they set off, Mr. Brown held up a leaflet. Listen, everybody, he called. First of all, we go past Santa's winter garden. I think I prefer Miss Bird's window box, said Paddington. The Browns exchanged anxious glances. It didn't seem a very good start to the outing. How about this one then, continued Mr. Brown as they turned a corner. It's the stable where Santa keeps his reindeer. Paddington didn't say anything. From where he was sitting, it looked more like a dog kennel, and the only reindeer he could see was a plastic one that had fallen over in the snow. Next, Mr. Brown pointed to a very tall tower with a flashing light on top. That's the lighthouse at the North Pole, he said. It's there to make sure Santa arrives back home safe and sound after he's delivered all his presents. Paddington gave it a hard stare. I think there must be a wire loose, Mr. Brown, he explained. The light keeps going on and off. Lighthouses are supposed to flash, broke in Jonathan. They all send out a different signal so that people know exactly where they are. But Paddington wasn't listening. He was counting the numbers of buns it had taken to pay for the outing. Now this might be more interesting, Mr. Brown tried to strike a cheerful note as they drew nearer to a big house with mechanical figures moving behind every window. We're about to enter Santa's workshop. Look at all the elves, called Judy. She turned around in order to explain elves to Paddington, but as she did, she gave a cry of alarm, for he was nowhere to be seen. Do something, Henry, called Mrs. Brown when she saw what was happening. Do something, repeated Mr. Brown. What can I do from inside the middle of the workshop? We haven't reached the end of the tour, warned Miss Bird. Paddington will be most upset if he misses any of it. Mr. Brown tried to put a brave face on things, but when they reached the end of the ride and there's still no sign of Paddington, he looked as worried as any of them. He called to one of Santa's helpers. "There's a bear fallen into our works," repeated the man. "I'll send for a manager at once." "Bear?" exclaimed the manager. "Did I hear someone say a bear? If it's the one I met earlier, I'm not surprised he's missing. A troublemaker if I ever saw one. Blue duffel coat, old hat. I'd recognize him anywhere. Leave it to me. I'll find him." "We're certainly not going until you have," warned Miss Bird. "And what's more, if I know that bear, he'll be wanting his money back." "No one has ever asked for their money back before," wailed the manager. "There's a first time for everything," said Miss Bird grimmingly. As the manager disappeared through one door, Paddington came through the other. "I think I found the fault in the lighthouse, Mr. Brown," he called. "Bears are good at mending things," but before he had a chance to finish, there was a loud bang from somewhere inside Santa's workshop, and all the lights went out. "Where is he?" shouted the manager. "Where is he? I'll give him a present he won't forget in a hurry." Miss Bird took a firm grip of her umbrella. "Come along, everyone," she called. "I think we've had enough wonders for one day." "Paddington certainly hit the headlines," said Mr. Brown at breakfast the next morning. "Listen to this. Strange goings on in London store." "One thing certain," said Mr. Brown. "We shan't be allowed into Barkridge again in a hurry." "I don't know," broke in Jonathan. "Listen to this one. Crowds flock to Santa's workshop. Search for mysterious bear goes on." Everyone was so busy reading the newspapers that they didn't notice Miss Bird leave the room. She had an important telephone call to make. "Barkridge," said the manager several days later, "wishes you all a very Merry Christmas. Ever since this young bear first honored us with a visit, we've had lines all around our store. It's quite like old times." He turned to Miss Bird. "And thank you, dear lady, for telephoning us when you did. Perhaps I could do some more repairs for you," said Paddington hopefully. "I don't think that will be necessary," said the manager hostily. "Besides, Santa is waiting to see you after you've all had a free sleigh ride." It was a merry party of Browns who set off on their journey through Winter Wonderland. This time everything worked perfectly, and they came to the end of the ride. Santa Claus was waiting to greet them. "Ho, ho, ho," he boomed. "And who we have here?" "I'm a bear, Mr. Claus," said Paddington, "and I come from darkest Peru." "Well," said Santa, searching behind his chair, "in that case, I think I know just what you would like." Paddington nearly fell over backwards with surprise as Santa Claus held an enormous jar. There was a label on the side that said "Homemade," and it was tied at the top with a big red bow. "It's my favorite, Mr. Claus," he cried. "How did you guess?" Miss Bird's face went pink as Santa gave her a knowing smile. "One of the nice things about Santa Claus," she said hastily, "is that he knows exactly what everyone wants for Christmas. That's what makes him so special." "And he makes his own marmalade," said Paddington happily. "I knew he would."